What's up? It's Jeremy Picker from Amber Creative.
This is Deanna with In the Zoning and Print Girl Mafia.
This is Ray Weiss with Printing the Night of the Lion.
You're listening to the Two Regular Guys podcast.
Hosted by Terry Combs RG, Regular Guy, and Aaron Montgomery.
The place to be for industry news.
The best dad jokes on earth, along with relevant topics to apparel decorators.
Fashion to the people.
All right, welcome into the show. It is Friday, October 25th, 2024. I'm Terry Combs, and you can find me at terrycombs.com.
And I'm Aaron Montgomery with our Success Group, and I coach business owners away from stress and anxiety towards clarity and confidence. So if you guys want to see for yourself and determine if that's really true, just head over to osg.link/thank you. And you'll have a opportunity for a no-charge assessment to kind of see where your business is aligned. But Terry, I'm switching hats. I'm putting on my Two Regular Guys hat here. And for the regulators, we are going to be welcoming in a new guest. We've not had Matt on the show before. So we've got Matt Woodhouse joining us today. And we're going to talk sublimation, one of my favorite decorating techniques. So, I'll try to not talk too much. But Matt... For those that aren't familiar with Matt, he's got a really deep history in sublimation going back to the early 2000s, even pre-me. So I'm excited to learn from Matt here. And we're going to kind of try to discuss the evolution and maybe even see, we asked him to bring his crystal ball. So we'll see how we end up, but what's coming up. So I'm excited to talk to Matt. Matt's somebody that I've gotten to know in the industry and just a really sharp guy. And I always love the conversation, and I got to see him in Printing United in Vegas. And I'm like, you know what? We need to get Matt on our show. We've never had him on here. So
yeah, absolutely.
He was kind enough to agree. So.
All right. Make sure you stay till the very end for the secret sauce. This week, Aaron will share his recipe for keeping your promises to build integrity and get more opportunities in the future. And hey, I want to add also, hey, thanks, Eric, because I wasn't going to be able to be here today. So at the very last minute, I'm like, all right, plans changed. So I'm back, and I feel bad because I think I bumped Eric out of his spot, but
He's always kind and so Eric does his show every Friday afternoon, the Take Up, and it's normally because I get to see it in the background because of the service that we use. But even if I don't make it, I can always see, oh, that was an hour and a half. And here's what totally impresses me. There's been times where Eric's come on, done Secret Sauce, or he's been on the show, and I've tried to like push buttons to help out, just kind of take that burden off him. He actually is like better when you just let him go. He's putting banners up. He's doing all this all while he's talking. I don't understand how he does that. He's very impressive. So Eric, thank you very much for everything that you do.
He's like the wizard in Wizard of Oz. He's behind the curtain doing all these things.
But then he gets in front of the curtain and he does it too. So
exactly.
It's pretty impressive. So Ramona says, look at you two. Did you color match today? Is it white shirt day? I'll go change my shirt to match. Yeah. So if everybody's got their white shirt, no, I'm just kidding.
Well, when I went to the Cardinals game on Monday night, it was blackout. Everybody had black shirts on, so we're going to follow the theme. Have the white
so
out.
we're going white out today. The Coyotes used to do that, Terry, back when they were still in Phoenix. But anyhow, all right. So Terry, not only are you kind of jumping in here, but we also have somebody coming from the road. And I so appreciate that she always does this for us, even when she's out there traveling. She still makes Two Regular Guys a part of her day. And so we've got Adrienne Palmer with dtfprinting.com, and she's going to deliver the news today, Terry. So you ready for that?
Yeah, our disclaimer for her is the fact that she cannot get the lighting quite right in her hotel room. So
she's still going to look better than us, though, Terry. So it's okay.
Of course.
Valid. All right, Eric, whenever you're ready, sir.
Hey, guys. Coming at you from Fort Worth, Texas, here at Impressions Expo with oddly lit hotel room lighting just not working out for me today. But super happy to be here. Awesome to see Terry in person this week. Here is the news. First up, Ninja Patches, a division of Ninja Transfers, has announced a new 5 business day shipping option for a variety of custom patch styles. Several of Ninja Patches styles are included, such as 3D embroidery patches, leather patches, and full color patches. And according to Ninja, the 5-day shipping option is designed for companies that need last-minute branding materials, event organizers seeking quick promo merchandise, or anyone working with tight deadlines who still want high-quality custom patches. Next up, Lawson Screen and Digital has announced its UV DTF inks have gained certification under the Consumer Product Safety and Improvement Act and California Prop 65. These certifications confirm that Lawson's UV DTF supplies meet the stringent safety regulations, especially regarding products intended for children. And California's Prop 65 specifically sets out specific requirements regarding the toxicity of materials used in products sold in California, spanning textiles, hard goods, toys, and electrical and electronic items. And last up, I hosted the Direct to Sales Proven Strategies to Drive DTF Printing Growth webinar with Kevin Baumgart, president of Sales Inc. The webinar provided ways for DTF printers to create an outbound sales strategy. Our topics included hiring a salesperson, if that even makes sense for you right now, developing sales strategies, marketing tactics, sales commission, building a more predictable revenue stream, and available tech and automation tools. So you can watch the webinar at dtfprinting.com. If you are at Impressions Fort Worth, which I can't imagine you're watching this right now too, you should be on the show floor like I should be. If you are, I'll be at the Unite Together booth and walking the show floor, and excited to see you all. So thanks, guys, and have a great Friday.
Yeah, you know, I went. I was at Printing United Impressions Expo in Fort Worth on Wednesday and Thursday. So I just saw Adrienne on the show floor yesterday. She came to our event. Aaron, you were there last year at the Acre Distillery for the tasting at Acre Distillery. For anybody who's not familiar with Fort Worth, is in the old Hell's Half Acre, where all the outlaws used to hang out in the 1880s in Fort Worth, and Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and all those guys used to hang out there. So there's a distillery called Acre Distillery, and they make rum, they make vodka, they make all different kinds of liquor right there, and they have a tasting. And so Equipment Zone, Epson, Stalls, and Rock hosted an event there where we had some customers, had some vendors, had some business partners there, and for a really, really fun evening. And so I got to hang out a little bit with Adrienne there. And in reality, she was hanging out with Kim. I was just on the other side.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Rena actually was there with us last year.
Right, exactly right.
There, and she says, so bummed I missed Fort Worth this year. So
can I add one more thing about Fort Worth? We have a second.
But can I, before you do, and then I'll let you add more about Fort Worth. I love Adrienne. She's amazing. I'm going to have to disagree with her. Even though you're at the show, you should be watching the podcast. Okay? I'm just kidding.
The show will wait.
That's right. Just tell them, hold on. We've got, anyhow, just kidding. All right. Yes, Terry, please.
Well, and I've said this before in the past, but I had a really good seminar on DTG and DTF printing. What's the best technology for you? And had about 60 people in the seminar. And I almost forgot to ask, but right when people stood up at the end, I said, oh, let me ask, who's attending their first industry trade show? And probably 3/4 of the people raised their hand. And that is always a wonderful sign for the industry. Those are all new people to the industry that are joining in and going to make us stronger. So I'm always excited to see those hands come up. So, and then of course I had one person who said, I think I've attended every one of your seminars since I bought my Epson F2000. So
I love it. That's yeah, it is a good sign, Terry. And I think sometimes people go, "Oh man, more competition," but the reality is the new people coming in is what is going to expand our markets, get people,
Right.
especially those that are coming and coming to classes like yours, right? Because I sometimes the shows are getting a little tough, right? Where just the financial aspect of it, and so the education's always kind of a quote unquote education. But I know your classes, right, are fantastic, and so they're getting educated, and I think that's really important for people to make sure that you get educated.
Absolutely, that's one of the huge benefits of going to a trade show, other than walking around seeing new products. Lots of great education with some great educators. Jay Bissell was right behind me.
Nice.
Same time, Dane Clement was doing his presentation. I jokingly said, "I hope I don't pull too many people from your seminar," because anybody knows Dane, he packs the house.
He does. Absolutely. Yeah, definitely some good education, but you got to kind of watch where it happens, right? If you're not paying for it, or if you're not paying much for it, then you're the product. So
That's true. That's a fact.
And if somebody's trying to sell you something, so the people that we mentioned not considered in that. So
Correct.
All right. So Jan says, "Wow, that's amazing with new people at the trade shows. Great sign." Doug, hello. He said, "Hello, everyone." And much earlier, Chuck was jumping in there. Good morning, guys. So appreciate you guys tuning in. If you guys just take a quick moment and make sure you go share this out in your social media. Let's get some people in here and have some more perspectives while we have this conversation with Matt coming up here in just a moment. I'm looking forward to that. But the other most important part of Two Regular Guys, Terry, I would say, because Cassie said so, the best dad jokes on the planet, right? So should we do a dad joke?
Let's do a dad joke.
All right. Well, Terry, I had a statement that I wanted to make, and this is directed to the person who invented zero. That statement is, "Thanks for nothing."
That is a dad joke, my friend.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That would be right off of the old dad joke calendar over here. So thank you, Michelle Wilson, once again, the gift that keeps on giving.
Oh man, oops. Sorry, everything's moving on my screen. Sorry, Eric. Before we dive in, we want to thank everybody for checking out the Two Regular Guys podcast. We still would love to have your voices. We want the regulators to participate in our show intros. So go to decorators.ink/intro, read a few sentences, and be a part of every show. Don't be left out. We are always looking for new guests like today. If you or anyone you know would like to join us, go to calendly.com/2 regular guys to book a future episode, or email us at info@tworegularguys.com with your show ideas. If you are listening live to the podcast version of the show, we would appreciate you sharing the Two Regular Guys podcast with all of your industry friends so they can become regulators too. We would appreciate you giving us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Podcast, YouTube Podcast. Wherever you do your podcast listening, we are there, and we would love to have a review. If you're watching us live right now, please join in with your comments and your questions, and maybe a little bit about your experience with sublimation as well.
Awesome. Yeah, excited to have this conversation. And like you said, Terry, let's make this a conversation. I know we're excited to hear from Matt, but we want to hear from you guys too, the regulators, as we do that. So speaking of Matt, should we dive right in here, Terry?
Let's dive in.
All right, let's bring him on. There you go. Welcome in, Matt. Thank you so much for being here, sir. How are you today?
I am doing well. It is a cool and crisp Friday morning here in Portland, Oregon.
There you go. All right. Well,
very nice.
And Lori Donovan shares sublimation, my favorite subject. So we're in the right place. And well, Matt, start us off here. We're not fans. We used to do the bio thing, and then we figured after reading paragraphs of the perfectly curated, this is who this person is. We want to actually know who you are, right? So we always like to start with asking our guests, just give us a little bit of the background on you. tell us about your journey, what got you into the industry and your journey in the industry so far, et cetera. So just kind of give us the Matt Woodhouse 101, if you wouldn't mind.
No problem. I started in 2002 as Johnson Plastics' first sublimation sales guy. And I did wild and crazy stuff. I had a minivan that I took a really bad 1280 printer mounted to a board with a bulk ink system and a heat press that I put onto basically an ambulance gurney that is available for sales guys. And I went around the Pacific Northwest kind of doing a road show. And I'd invite businesses into hotel conference rooms, and I would have a little display board of some sublimation products, and I would pitch the wild, wonderful world of sublimation to a lot of the folks, especially in the awards and engraving industry. And as we started growing up in the industry, I then went to work for the folks over at Universal Woods making the Unisub and Chromolux products, and was kind of on the ground floor of being able to get pro photo labs to start pitching metal prints. So like the thing behind me right over here. Yeah. And we basically created an entire media for folks to be able to put professional photos on, and expanded that into e-commerce fulfillment companies, and kind of grew it from there. Yeah. And so I've been around for a few other companies since, but my adventure in dye sub started with the dark days of the Epson 3000s and the 1280s and all the crazy printers that we worked with.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so cool. And just to real quick talk about what you mentioned with the metal prints and stuff. I mean, I think in a lot of ways you guys saved some of those photo labs with that stuff. I mean, nobody's printing photos anymore. So what were they going to print? And I think the Chromolux product came along at a pretty good time from what my understanding of those photo kind of reproduction houses and my conversations with them.
It was a crazy time. It was just literally kind of on the fly trying to make a new media. And really, I got to give a lot of credit to Larry Abital over at Bay Photo. He's the one that kind of saw what was going on in the marketplace. He was an early adopter into changing photo labs from the chemical days to digital. And he really helped drive our ingenuity at Universal Woods into making a better product.
Wow, interesting. Yeah, I didn't. I've always heard of Bay Photo, but I wasn't as familiar with how much involvement they had. So the other thing that stood out for me there, Matt, is the traveling salesman. Because that was the time, right? Back in the 2000s, early 2000s. The internet wasn't as prolific, and you had to find ways to connect. And I love that you were willing to load up the van and get out there and do that. Sounds like some fun times, probably.
Yeah, no, there was only one other guy that was crazy enough to do the same thing. A gentleman that's since passed. His name was Terry Judge, and he was a guy that he had a van and a trailer and went around and just preached the gospel of sublimation.
I love it. I love it, man. Terry, I can see this for you now. You got to get a van, gonna throw a DTG machine, DTF machine in there, and let's
hit the
road show.
There you go. I did expect you to say, and then I invite people into my van.
And no, it was not a van down by the river.
Okay, all right, good.
Well, I have a comment. When back in the 80s, I had one of those sublimation machines that was powder sublimation. You know what I'm talking about? I can't even remember.
Oh, did you have a green machine?
No.
The old Express green machines
Express.
That were just, yep.
It was an Express.
Remember that? A reverse mirror, and it was just a toner system, and
toner
would
system.
make plaque and trophy plates with it.
Well, when you talk about having that plaque on the wall, of course, yours is beautiful, full color for our podcast listeners. But every time I get the newspaper, and every time I'd see some little league team or something like that, I'd cut it out. It was perfect for those one color sublimations, and I would put it up as on my wall as a display. And because I knew somebody would walk in and say, "Hey, that's so and so. Could I buy that?" And I would just put another. Next week, it would be some other team or some other group. from the high school football game. I'd have an 8x10 up there, and the people would just buy them off the wall. I was kind of that guy.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah, perfect. So Terry, real quick too, also, since we're in the Wayback Machine here, and Matt clearly knows this technology, you also mentioned to me over some chats we were having this week as we were talking about this show, you would screen printed sublimation?
I did back in the 80s, and for our podcasts, our younger podcast listeners, I mean the 1980s. Not necessary to go on the chat and say you weren't born yet, but so during the 80s, you could buy sublimation ink that you would screen print. And what was interesting about it, you had to make a little note on all your transfers, and we just printed it on, I'm going to really date myself, 20-pound bond typing paper, and you'd have to make a little note what color it was, because all the transfers were gray. And then you would heat apply them, and it would come out a beautiful red or a beautiful royal blue. But yeah, and so we did tons of trucker hats the first time they were super popular. And so yeah, so we were screen printing sublimation, like maybe a little ahead of our time, because not too many people remember those days. But yeah, that's the way we used to do sublimation back 40 years ago. Thank you very much.
Matt, were you familiar with any of that technology? Was that kind of gone by the wayside?
Yeah, I've certainly known about it. And, another company that was kind of early in things, if you guys remember Make It Personal, where they used sublimation pens, and kids would then draw a drawing, and then they would sublimate melamine plates. And that was kind of just one of those early things that, people were able to do, and it was really popular in the elementary schools.
We now that you say that, we had a little table set up, and we had ornaments, and the kids could draw, and then we'd heat apply them on the ornaments, and the pens were all different, so you could do multiple colors, and lots of red snowmen, and
and
yellow Santas.
They're still doing that today. The artistry, that's
right.
their
Right.
business model, right? So the crafting and the cool. All right, Matt, we'll get back on track here. So a little trip down, but I still want to. This is good because it prepped us where we're heading here. So you and I got to see each other at Printing United, as I'd mentioned earlier, and I don't know about you, but I was completely blown away with all of the innovation. I mean, it was crazy, the different things that we were seeing and starting to see, but. Obviously you've kind of shown that you've been around this sublimation game for a bit. You mentioned that the 1280s and the bulk systems and the, all that kind of stuff. Talk to us about the evolution though. How has sublimation really evolved to where it is today in your mind? And what were some of the big leaps that kind of puts it where it's at today?
Back in the day, it was Frankenstein. We were using these, third-party printers, Sawgrass inks. We were, using third-party color management systems. And, when Universal Woods got into sublimation, it almost happened by accident. Apparently, the story goes, a guy came up to Paul Newman, who was the president of Universal Woods, and said, "Hey, I love this product. It's sublimated beautifully." He turned around and said, "What on earth is sublimation?" So it ended up actually transforming that business, and really allowed a lot of rigid substrate products to come to the marketplace. But we were just, really going by the seat of our pants. And, Sawgrass helped lead the innovation in things. But the print systems we had in the early 2000s, I mean, the Epson 3000 was a big tank of a printer, and it was slow, and it was horrible resolution, banded all the time. You were doing more head cleanings and wasting more ink on cleaning cycles than you were printing with. Yeah. So the early days of the dye sub world were bad. And the good news is that once we started getting more professional printing solutions, Sawgrass started working with the Epson 4000, and that really made a big leap. I always said with that old 1280 that I probably got more people into sublimation printing with that and drove them out with it because it was terrible. Yeah. And when the Epson 4000 came out, I was at a ARA trade show, and I was convincing people that were saying that this is the worst thing I ever did to actually take a leap, spend a couple of $1,000 on a printer, and sure enough, the next year people were hugging me saying, "This is the best thing I ever got."
Yeah.
So that was kind of one of the big transformations. And I think really the biggest is once the big print companies saw value in sublimation, that's when really things changed. I mean, once Epson got in the game, that was just a fundamental switch that flipped. And I remember they were launching their F-Series printers, and I'm at a trade show, and they are entirely basing these things around doing cut and sew fabric. And they had gals in a trade show booth there. They were literally stitching things together.
Yeah.
And I'm with Toby Hall at this trade show.
Nice.
And I go over, I'm talking to a couple of the people there, and I'm like, "Guys, you got to see what we do." And dragged them over to our booth and showed them the Chromolux prints and the other products we had in there. And all of a sudden, it's like a light switch flipped, and they're like, "Whoa, maybe this can do more than just fabric." And all of a sudden, we really had a commercially viable print solution that really just started evolving into the marketplace.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, and
let
let
me comment one thing about the evolution of sublimation.
Absolutely.
Have you noticed too that everybody today can say sublimation? They don't call it. Do you do sublimation?
Sublim or sublim or Now, if you guys remember John Barker that used to work for Sawgrass and then at Johnson Plastics.
Yes, I do.
He and I were doing a seminar in Colorado, and we went to an REI store to buy a bicycle jersey that had been sublimated just to use as a sample to show people in the seminar. And it hit me like a ton of bricks when this guy said, "Oh, you want to buy a sublimated bike jersey?" So all of a sudden it's like, whoa, wait a second. What did you just say? And it's been kind of the bane of our existence. You know, I'm in an airport getting on an airplane, and people are like, "What do you do?" And they would never quite understand the word sublimation. And all the classes I taught over the years, you know, everybody butchered the word. And once we got to a point where, you know, the big companies were actually providing print solutions, you know, the guys at Roland and Mamaki and, you know, all the great things that they've done, all of a sudden this word started meaning something to people.
Yep.
There was that one chemistry professor. Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Well, I used to use in some of the classes I would teach, there was a Jeopardy clip where it was talking about, you know, what is a process that goes from a solid solid to a gas to a solid again. And my father, who was in the industry as well, we both we were having dinner with my mother, and we both yelled and screamed sublimation, and scared her to death. She almost dropped her plate on the floor. And I used to use that clip over and over again. So it's something that actually made it to Jeopardy.
That's awesome. I love it.
That's awesome. So Matt, real quick, before, I know you've got a question for him, Terry, but I wanted to, because as we're talking about the evolution here too, I think the other thing, Lori Donovan says, "I love Chromolux products. They sub so amazing." And Doug, to answer your question, so these full color photographs on metal are dye sub. I would say 99.9% of them probably are. You know, obviously you can't say every single one, but I think that's another part of this, Matt. And you were so heavily involved in that early time. I don't think, you know, the sublimation inks and the printers and all that stuff, they get all the kind of the talking, but I also think a big evolution in sublimation has been from a substrate standpoint, right? Mm-hmm. Like you can now wash coffee mugs in a dishwasher that are sublimated. And so there, you know, but that was a coating issue, right? that wasn't a, you know, mug issue, it was a coating issue. So, and I know Unisub was pretty heavily involved in really kind of up leveling the coating and things like that. So what can you share with us about that?
Well, you know, when you get to the coatings, it really came down to, you know, what substrates you could apply the coatings to, and the ability of gaining good adhesion. And as Universal went along in their evolution of creating sublimation products, it came down to a thing that was really important called the tie coat. And that was a primer that was put down that basically allowed the sublimation coating to adhere to the different products. So the aluminum, the wood, bamboo, getting into the fiberglass reinforced plastic. And so that technology is kind of something that was behind the scenes that really enabled things to get better.
Yeah.
And aluminum was a real tricky thing to work with, because if you think about big sheets of aluminum, you put 400 degrees of heat on it, they're going to grow in the heat press.
Yeah.
And the coatings grow at a different rate and expand at a different rate than the coating did. So that tie coat was really important to be able to keep that coating adhered to the aluminum. And I mentioned Bay Photo earlier. One of the first experiences I had with them, I was at it was probably their second location down in California, where I walked in and I'm being transitioned into handling this account. Toby Hall's with me, and we're having a meeting with their production team, and they show us this piece of aluminum, and the coating's gone off of half of it. And they're going, "Hey guys, there's a problem here."
Yeah.
And so that tie coat technology is really what helped allow the aluminum to advance into the market space it did. Because initially we were all just kind of running blind and just trying to make a good product. And I definitely have to give a good shout out to Terry Newhouse. He's actually he was the plant manager at Universal Woods, and he's back here in the Portland area, recently retired from Universal Woods, and he was really critical into developing that technology.
Wow, man, I learned a ton there. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate that. Yeah. All right, Terry, I'll get back out of the way here.
How many times have you burned your fingers grabbing that aluminum too soon?
Oh yeah, you always know somebody that works with heat presses when you see the calluses on their fingers.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So somebody wants to get, or somebody's gotten into sublimation. What are some of the challenges that people face jumping into this part of the marketplace, and what are some of the solutions that you found for them?
The weird thing is that, year after year, I have found that, I would sell a system to somebody. They would, say, "Wow, this looks great." The biggest challenge a lot of folks, especially the small businesses, have faced, opening the box. The buy-in to sublimation is pretty low. Yeah. And people just say, "I get busy, and I just never got around to it." And I'd see somebody at a trade show, they buy the equipment. Next year I see them again, and it's like, "So how'd it go?" And they're like, "Oh, well, I just didn't get around to it." So simply opening the box and getting started is, step number one. Step number two, definitely, knowing your design software is critical. We all use, Photoshop and CorelDRAW as kind of our mainstays. For photo editing, one of the best things that I've ever used is Exposure X7. That is some really slick software that allows you to do some photo editing. You've got a lot of pre-designed templates in terms of looks and artistic stuff that you can use, and it's really got some of the best enlargement software I've ever used. It's called Blow Up, and I've been able to take like little thumbnail images and blow them up to poster size. So it doesn't work for everything, but it's a pretty slick, inexpensive software package, and it can be used as a plugin for Photoshop, but also it can be a standalone software package. And that's one that I thought that a lot of folks, if you're kind of new into the design software space and photo editing space, that gives you a pretty good jump start into it.
Yeah. Wow. Those are really good tips, Matt. And going back to your in the box comment, Lori Donovan, who does classes for Sawgrass, one of the things she does, but she says, "Oh my God, yes, I have Sawgrass users tell me all the time they've had their printer for 5 months and it's still in the box." So, and I think, Matt, as you were talking about there, right, that's like the first step, get it out of the box. But the thing I love about sublimation is how unlimited it is, right? You really get to put your creative hat on. And so I think people need to just understand that, just go play with stuff, right? Get some extra substrates, like you said, know your design software, but put cool designs on there, test it out, and be okay with, Terry, this will make you chuckle, right? Be okay with ruining a few things, right? You're going to ruin a shirt here and there if you're a DTG printer for the first time. The same thing with a sublimator. You're going to ruin a few, pieces of whatever, but that's part of the creative process, I'd say. So, Matt,
you got to play with stuff. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you got to understand the process, and I think a big part of once you're in front of the heat press is understanding how things work, and you got to fail, and you got to understand what happens when you don't have something in for the proper dwell time, if it's too short or too long. It's just a matter of getting some experience, and so plan on ruining some stuff. You build that into your pricing model of, okay, there's going to be X amount of waste here. And when you're getting started, it's all about getting to know how your equipment works. Yeah. And every heat press is a little different. Every printer is going to be a little different. And so getting into just experimenting in the beginning, I think it's really critical to be able to know how to make a good product in the end.
Yeah, I love that. Build into your price of the machine a certain amount of products that you assume will be ruined. Maybe you get some gems in there, but yeah, exactly right. You have to do some experimenting.
Yeah,
with everything
for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, Matt. Well, we talked a little bit about substrates already, but I'm curious too, in your experience and travels here, what are some substrates that you've seen come and maybe go, or kind of what should people be looking at in the substrate space? Anything? I like I said, I just want to talk about substrates and how maybe kind of understanding. Yeah, I love your story about going over to the Epson booth when they first came out with their F series and going, "Hey guys, you can do more in fabric. Did you know that?" Right, kind of thing. Because I think even still today, you look at their color profiles and it's all fabric based. But anyhow, so Matt, talk to us about substrates for a little bit here.
Yeah, some that have not got a lot of play out there. And in fact, I was at a restaurant yesterday and saw it and had to actually touch it to see if it was sublimated or not. And it wasn't. But when Tom Johnson hired me at Johnson Plastics, I went to dinner with him and he's touching a plaque. And he's sitting there going, well, I just got to get the feel of it. And I didn't understand at the time. And he looked at me and said, you will.
You will.
And so there was a pretty cool product that was a translucent fiberglass reinforced plastic. Universal had this. It didn't really get a lot of play, but if you think like in this restaurant, it was a divider between restaurant booths and had some great artistic look to it. And it was something that they never really moved forward in the marketplace with, but I thought that had some pretty interesting implications.
Yeah.
The other big thing that I think that, looking, using the crystal ball, kind of looking forward, one of the things in the photo space that has been the bane of photo labs for the beginning of time since they started doing it, back mounting photos on acrylic. When you get into 1-inch thick pieces of acrylic, they have to spend a lot of time applying that. I mean, think vehicle wraps, but times 100 in terms of you got to be perfect with this to get the clarity of it. And Universal Woods has transitioned to a different ownership, and they just were purchased by another company that manufactures of all things glass for museums as well as picture frames.
Wow.
And so as we've gone into other avenues and with their substrates lately, I think there's going to be, my crystal ball says, a renewed focus back into the photo market. And one of the things they've been working with is developing acrylic solutions. And right now there's small items that are acrylic that are about 1/4 inch thick that you can sublimate on. But I think that elusive 1-inch thick piece, they might get a renewed focus on. At least I hope so. Because that was something that all of those photo labs, they just said, this is the most costly thing we do. And that's something that I think could be a phenomenal sublimation solution. And right now you get certain labs that are actually combining aluminum and the acrylic together to make a greater piece. So if I had my crystal ball on a great solution to come forward, that would be the number one thing I'd look for.
I love it. Thank you, Matt.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, you hear a lot of buzz about direct to film, DTF printing having some kind of impact on sublimation. How do you feel about that and the impact on sublimation and the wider printing industry?
The direct to film model, I think, is great in terms of another tool in the toolbox. At the end of the day, there is no magic bullet in terms of decoration technology, and combining decoration technologies often is a great solution. When we were launching the Chromolux product, one of the things that a lot of the photo labs that we work with that were doing canvas prints said, oh, well, this is going to cannibalize my sales. It's going to take away from what the canvas is doing for our business. And the reality was, because we now had another thing that their customers could buy, both increased in volume. So it's a case where I think DTF is filling a pretty cool space in the market. And, it takes me back to the days of, here on the West Coast, we go to Hawaii if we want to go somewhere tropical. On the East Coast, people go down to the Caribbean. And I just remember as a kid going into all these T-shirt shops in Hawaii, and you want that T-shirt, somebody would pull out that screen printed transfer and then have a little heat press and pop it onto the T-shirt.
Yeah.
And DTF, being that we can stick in a drawer, and in fact, I've got some samples from Ninja Transfers right next to me here. It's a case where it's not something you have to do live. I listened to the podcast you guys did with Sean Stewart a couple of months ago, and he had talked about somebody had asked about color management with pre-purchase transfers, and I think that the transfers that you can get from some of these third-party suppliers, really do fill a marketplace, because you don't have to buy the equipment to do it. So I think it's a great companion technology. There's no one size fits all, and I think it's a great up and coming thing that is really getting more prevalent at this point.
Yeah, love it.
Well, and I'll give you an example, and I love the idea of complementary technologies, because stalls right now in Fort Worth, outside the convention center hall, out by the entrance, they have the whole hat set up where you can pick out patches and heat apply them, but all the hats already have sublimation Texas across them, and people can pick out patches and heat apply them on, but they already prepped the trucker hats with sublimation. So let's combine some of the things that we do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Matt, you brought up the color management question from our interview with Sean there, but I know you have some background in color management as well. So I guess we're talking to decorators here. Maybe they're newer to the sublimation space, but how critical is it for decorators to really kind of understand color management, properly implement that? And, maybe what are some of the challenges you've seen people face in that regard? And maybe if you have a solution for it, we're welcome to that too.
Well, one of the big things is that, I'm on some of the internet forums, and, some folks that are, trying to kind of get going with basic printers and, inks they're getting off the internet. Some you can get ICC profiles for, some you can't. At the end of the day, knowing how color works is important. I think one of the things that we have now that is something we didn't back in the day, YouTube University, that really gives us a great way to kind of learn some color management functions. When you get into basic spot color matching, color charts. I've been at trade shows where I've had shirts and plaques and, you name it, just filled with color charts. And at the end of the day, being able to, see a color on that substrate and being able to match that color is very important. But when you get a little bit more evolved in color management, that's where, RIP software programs really come in with, especially white format printers, and being able to either have a good profile that's coming from a manufacturer, or ideally either, using a service to be able to do profiling for you, or taking that leap and getting some profiling software. I1 Profiler is not that expensive and it does a very good job. And that teamed with a good spectrophotometer, and away you go.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Terry, let's keep moving. We've got so much great information that we're getting from Matt here, and we're going to run out of time.
Yeah, Matt, you mentioned the crystal ball. What other innovations are we looking at in sublimation over the next few years?
My guess is we're going to find more ink solutions out there. One of the things that I could definitely see is reactive inks that are at activating at a lower temperature, and that can be applied to other substrates and then be able to actually reduce dwell times. I know certain companies are working on that. It's also sustainability has been one of the big catchphrases lately, and have a more eco-friendly solution in terms of manufacturing. And one of my favorite things that's been happening over the past couple of years, where so many people have been going out to China to get their products, onshoring has been one of the big catchphrases over the last couple of years, and people being able to buy local and being able to know that the products they're making aren't being wasted. In the clothing industry, one of the things that most people don't know is that a significant amount of product is just wasted. And you go to landfills and they are filled with clothing. And being able to be producing stuff in smaller volumes and being able to get stuff that is more custom made, I think is part of where the industry is going. And the idea of quote unquote fast fashion is really kind of falling out of favor. So getting into something that is a sustainable product that can be made more on demand, I think is kind of where the industry is going. And I think that takes all of the smaller businesses that we work with and gives them an advantage over some of the big fashion houses.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, not to belabor, but this is another one of my reasons why I love sublimation is that sustainability, right? It's going to look the same no matter how many times you wash it, compared to, because I don't know, I always lean towards my sublimated garments before other ones for whatever reason. But all right, well, Matt, I also want to talk to you about, again, I know your background. You and I got to know each other a little bit through your time with Unisub, which you've talked about. And I know obviously you talked about Bay Photo, but you've also worked with some other pretty large e-commerce producers in that space. You mentioned Zazzle, Fujifilms. So I just want to gain some knowledge from you here. What are some lessons that maybe a business that's not quite at Zazzle or Fujifilm's level, what can they take from understanding how those guys go about their business model, right? Maybe that's marketing or growing their product offering or whatever comes to mind for you. What's a lesson you could share with our listeners?
Well, one of the best things I think sublimation and a lot of digital decoration technologies have is that they're scalable. You can start small, you can have one printer, one heat press. And, when you look at the big businesses that are doing a lot of fulfillment, these print service providers, they simply have more printers, more heat presses, bigger heat presses. And the biggest thing to them is really throughput. And so as you start really growing, one of the things you've got to be able to do is really know your process. And, one of the things when I was, several years ago working with Fuji, they were doing production for Costco. And so all the metal prints you buy at Costco, Fuji was printing. And we had to basically get these guys up and running in about 3 months to be able to produce about 1,000 prints a day.
Wow.
And knowing how that process worked was critical to them. At the end of the day, being able to have some prep space, being able to, warm up the aluminum before you go to press it to get that film off the top. That was really important to them. And being able to have consistency in process. Some of these print service providers that are doing the third-party printing for a website, whether it be Costco or Walmart or whatever, these guys work on really thin margins. Whatever that website is, they make the money. So, it was really critical for these big guys to get their process down, and that translates downstream because, when you get into, as we mentioned, kind of wasting stuff to figure out how the process works, being able to be efficient in how you're producing product is really important. And so efficient in time, efficient in product waste, and being able to, get that to translate into profit dollars.
Yeah. Oh, so what I'm hearing, Matt, is process is important. We need to have a good foundation, maybe fundamentals. Just shameless plug of my book. Sorry.
Nice.
No,
Very nice.
I'm not. That is a shameless plug, but no, exactly what you're saying, Matt. I think you're so spot on, right? And that's what separates. I think some of the. If you want to get to that next level, listen to what Matt just said right there. Brilliant. Go look at your processes, get it down, and how can you make that more efficient, and that will get you to the next level faster than spending billions of dollars on trying to build some marketing program or something like that. Just make your business better. So
and that's true no matter what type of decorating you're doing. But
100%.
So Matt, we're coming down to the end of our hour. We want to ask you how people can connect with you. I know that Aaron mentioned when you guys met up in Las Vegas at Printing United that you had commented about, and this is something I say to all my screen printing classes.
And I stole this from Terry. So
you leave now, or you will never leave if you get into this industry. It's Hotel California. Check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. You're living proof of that, and I understand you're open to some new opportunities as well.
Absolutely. And at Printing United, it was great to be able to connect to people that I've known for over 20 years. And, Aaron, you and I are basically the same age. And I've realized that I've spent half my life in this industry. And it's a case where, the people are great. The technologies are great. It's always ever evolving. And it's something that, so many people I know are, in their third or fourth company in this industry.
Yeah.
It's a case where, yes, you just, once you get hooked, you can't leave.
Yep.
And in terms of getting a hold of me, best way is Matt Woodhouse, MattWoodhouse at Comcast.net. I'm always available via email, and I am certainly open for new opportunities in the marketplace, and I'm definitely looking to kind of find another place to be.
Love it. Love it. Matt, that's so awesome. And you guys, if you are out there and you're looking for somebody that's really smart, that is willing to do what it takes, he's willing to jump in a van and maybe not anymore, Matt. I know that's you've maybe grown beyond that, but no, I'm just kidding. So I think it's really cool. And so appreciate you coming and spending some time sharing your knowledge with us and our listeners. And so we're excited to see where you head.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you for having me, and it's been a blast.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt.
It has been. Thanks, Matt. Talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Well, that was a primer in sublimation. That was a lot of information. You folks are going to have to go back and listen again and take some more notes.
Absolutely. Well, the crazy part is, Terry, you guys know that sublimation is kind of my jam. It's if I had a favorite child, that would be it. And because I fell in love with it back in 2009 and have been kind of a fanboy ever since. And I talk about like David Gross, learning from him, but I learned so much from Matt right there. And I've known Matt for a while too. So yeah. I apparently did not take advantage of that amazing resource that was sitting right in front of me. So
until now.
Yeah. It was just one of those happenstance things too. The funny part was I had been at Printing United. I was kind of over in that apparel hall most of the time. And right before my wife and I were leaving, because we had to leave a little bit early, I said, we need to go check out the other hall. Let's just run through it real quick and just see if there's anything of interest over there. And as I'm walking through, I kind of see out of the corner of my eye, I'm like, I think I recognize. And I'm like, oh, wait a second, that's Matt. And I said, you know what? I just want to go say hi. I haven't seen him in a bit. And so I popped over there, talked to him and said, hey, what's going on? He was telling me what he was up to. And I was like, oh man, that's super cool. And then we kind of connected by email. Like you said, he's really good at getting back to you. And so I think it's worth a connection there for anybody that's interested. So
absolutely. Awesome.
All right. Well, Terry, what is happening for you? I know you just got back from Fort Worth, but no rest for the wicked, right? Is that what they say?
Exactly right. I got back late last night, and my complete screen printing business course, Chicago. They're still kicking around the dates. I gave them all my available dates for next year, trying to remember to block out the Super Bowl, the NCAA Final Four. That's just for me. Holidays, and so anyway, I'm hoping that by next week we'll start filling in that schedule. Workhorse, my next class there is going to be November 16th and 17th. You can find all my upcoming events at terrycombs.com. How about you, Aaron?
Yeah, so I've got a couple weeks away. I can't believe we're already getting to November here. But in a couple weeks, I will be in Charlotte for the Graphics Pro Expo out there on November 9th at 11 a.m. local time. So it's Eastern time. I expect to see you guys in my seminar called How to Master Pricing for Profit. And so curious who's gonna be there. You can put it in the comments, or you can reach out to me directly. And love to see you out there in Charlotte. It's going to be a great show, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody there in Charlotte. Another thing, and yet thank you, Ramona. We'll get to that in 1 second here. But I don't know, for whatever reason, I haven't been sharing, but I had done Small Business Saturdays, kind of put it to bed for a little bit, kind of going and exploring some other things. I started doing Small Business Saturdays again for people that weren't aware. And so most of the time it's with my wife, which is awesome. That was kind of the change that I needed to make. I needed to have somebody. We just wanted an opportunity to talk about something that we love, and that is supporting and lifting up small business owners. So every Saturday, noon Central Time, if you head over to Live OSG, that gets you to the YouTube channel, and you can see it right there. This Saturday, we are going to be talking about how action beats inaction every time. So when in doubt, do something. You know, one of my favorite lines that I love to borrow is something that I learned from Eric. I'm not sure if he borrowed it from somewhere, but I always give Eric credit for it, is you can't steer a parked car. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, and I love doing that. I'm going to skip one here, Eric, and I'm going to go down and make sure that everybody gets over into our Facebook group at osg.link/group and tune in over there. It's basically the idea of the group is small business owners coming together to lift each other up, talk about a more holistic, deeper view of what business success looks like. It's called the Entrepreneur Success Hub, and we ask lots of great perspective questions and just try to, certainly we want to talk about, hey, let's solve this one particular issue. And I never want to shy away from that stuff. But I also want to ask people, hey, what are you doing about your mental health? How are you believing in yourself more? How are you, showing up for your customers? Do you know who your ideal clients are? Kind of getting a little bit deeper. So if you have not checked out our Facebook group, please do. And if you are somebody, we got actually a couple people to request access, but all we need you to do is just accept the rules of the group. We don't have a lot of crazy rules. It's not an overly moderated group like some of these out there. We just want you to just say, I'm going to be kind, period. So I've got people waiting to be let in. If that's one of you, just click go over there and click the little button that you agree to the rules. You can fill in the other stuff if you want, but mainly I just need you to agree to the rules. So
if you're not okay with that, you probably don't belong there.
Absolutely. So we give you a little bit of time, and then we kick out your request. So, and then Terry, you want to share what Eric's got coming up?
Yeah, absolutely. Join Eric for episode 206 of the Take Up, The Essentials, Line Work and Single Color Design. In this Essentials episode, we'll talk about the basics of line work, from the simplest running stitch details to stem stitch, back stitch, bean stitch, and motifs, with an emphasis on pathing, thickness, and executing clean, clear digitizing methods. From there, we'll discuss a bit about single color designs and what we can create and control with additional color. Head over to ericcampbell.com and click on the Take Up tab at the top to get to the YouTube channel and check this out live at 2:30 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time.
I knew that was coming. All right. So yeah, you guys got to go check that out. Terry, I don't know about you, but I didn't know what any of those stitches were, so I am going to check it out to learn.
I was just really happy that I believe I said them all correctly.
Okay, you are getting the high sign. All right. Well, definitely check that out. Eric is a wealth of knowledge, and this is an opportunity to take advantage of that knowledge. I still am blown away by how amazing his show is, and that he does that every Friday just out of the kindness of his heart. So, yep, good stuff. All right, Terry. Well, I've got a little secret sauce if anybody would like a taste.
All right, let's hear it.
All right, guys, ready for today's secret sauce? Now, this is my belief. Maybe I'm wrong here, but I'm pretty sure we all want more opportunities, right? But I'm not sure that we realize that those opportunities actually originated at some point well in the past that we probably don't recall, right? And that point in the past was a time when you kept your promise, you delivered on what you said you were going to do, and that you showed that person that is now giving you the opportunity in that point in the past, you showed that they were important to you, and therefore you did what you said you're going to do. So are they important enough to make room on your busy schedule? That type of thing, right? And these promises can be to a customer, a partner, or even yourself. These promises can be promises we make to ourselves. And keeping promises isn't just about fulfilling obligations, right? It's about building integrity, trust, and that will create opportunities for future growth. At the heart of any strong relationship, whether it's business, personal life, is trust. When you keep your promises, you're showing others that they can rely on you. It's not about doing just what you said you would. It's about proving that your word has value. Integrity becomes part of your brand. Now, here's the secret. The more integrity you build, the more people want to work with you. Opportunities multiply when others know they can count on you. And that's the same mechanism that works for your internal voice. When you keep the promises you make to yourself, you feel better, you achieve more, and you're given more energy to accomplish your deepest desires, right? That's a weird thing to think about, but you're given more energy. Your subconscious mind will give you more energy. This is all scientifically proven stuff that's crazy for me to think about. So I want to give you this delicious recipe, and I'm going to share 3 simple ingredients that you need to build this trust. Number 1, be clear about your commitments. Before making any promises, ask yourself, can I really deliver on this? Overpromising leads to stress and failure. Instead, make sure your promises are realistic and attainable, and you're making the most important thing the most important thing. Okay, number 2, follow through consistently. Consistency is key. Every time you deliver on a promise, you strengthen your integrity. So create systems or reminders to help you keep track of commitments so you don't let anything slip through the cracks. Don't just use a calendar, live by it. Right? When you forget something, figure out a system to keep it from happening again. Number 3, own your mistakes and make it right. Let's be real. Nobody is perfect. If you find you can't keep a promise, communicate it early. Apologize and find a solution to make things right. If you are the one that's unable to fulfill a promise, don't put it on someone else to solve the problem for you. Renegotiate and offer a solution, and don't expect the other party to solve it for you. Owning up to your mistakes can actually build more trust in the long run. Again, we're all humans. This is a major value of mine. So I'm very keenly aware of it, but I still find myself overcommitting. So don't take the mistake and hide from it. Take it as an opportunity to improve. You need to know what your long-term goals are, and then you can commit to the right things. The in the moment, I'm just going to take that on because it feels like the right thing to do, or you're saying yes to every request, right? Yes, in the moment, it might feel like the right thing to do, but you're actually creating the opposite effect when you start overcommitting. The trust and integrity built from this recipe isn't just a nice thing to have, it's essential for your future growth. When people know they can trust you, they're more likely to recommend you, return to do business with you, and bring you new opportunities. But when they feel like they can't, they probably won't tell you. They'll just look to other places to recommend, other places to do business with, and other places to feed opportunities to. So keeping your promises, even the small ones, is like planting a seed. Over time, those seeds are going to grow into a forest of trust and success. full of opportunities that you might not have even seen coming. So next time you make a commitment, follow through, be honest, and watch how your integrity opens doors for your future. That's your secret sauce for today. Keep those promises and success will follow.
Excellent. That was a great sauce.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And I appreciate Ramona's comment as well. She says secret sauce today is so very important. They're all important, but today's builds a better business and a better person. Love it. Again, as I mentioned in the secret sauce, Terry, this is a kind of a big thing for me. It's a core value that I stand on, but like everybody else, I still miss it sometimes, right? And so just how can we continue to improve and get better? I think that's what it's really all about.
100%. Awesome.
Yep. All right. Well, Terry, what a great show today. It was a lot of fun talking to Matt, and I'm glad to get a fresh face on here. We when you've been doing this for nearly 12 years, it's hard to like find new people that we haven't talked to yet, but I know they're out there. So if you're somebody that, hey, just kind of has something to share, please make sure you reach out to us. You can go to the calendly.com/2regularguys, or just go to our website or go to info or email us info@2regularguys.com. But anyhow, just want to thank Matt for his time and all of that sublimation knowledge. Again, I learned a ton today, and I've been doing this for a long time. And I think, some of our other sublimation experts in here probably learn a few things too.
I think that's a big part of our show is you and I wanting to learn about all these things as well. Let's just bring an expert in and let them talk about it.
Absolutely, 100%.
We want to thank our show producer, Eric Campbell, for turning the knobs and pushing the buttons. And thanks again, Eric, for keeping the seat warm that I jumped in on the last minute. Hope you're okay with that.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Hey, Eric, thank you so much, buddy. And I know that you're doing all sorts of amazing things in the background too. So thank you once again. So next week, Terry, I'm going to be both a co-host and a guest, and we're going to talk about the uncommon mindset. So something I love talking about. In fact, it's part of my mission statement to cultivate an uncommon mindset in proactive business owners. So I'm excited. Look out, world.
Don't give away too much.
I know. I want to give away all right now because I'm not excited, but
I'm definitely looking forward to that. And until then, I'm Mike Montgomery.
And that was the Two Regular Guys.
Here we go. We're out.
Awesome.
Thank you for listening to Two Regular Guys. Check out our website at tworegularguys.com. That's the number 2, regularguys.com. You can also interact with us over at our Facebook page, facebook.com/2regularguys, or send us a tweet, twitter.com/2regularguys. And we have a YouTube page. You can find all that from our website, tworegularguys.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to spending some time with you again next week.